Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another great edition of my Grue Rume Show. And for the Grue Rume Show today, I got a very awesome guest, and her name is Cindy Hinds. And if you were a big fan of 80s horror as much as I was, she was in a whole bunch of horror films in the 80s: The Brood, Deadline, Tales of the Haunted, and the Dead Zone. And I'm really looking forward to chatting with her about her experiences with these classic horror films. And I'm sure if you're a horror fan and watching the show, that you'll enjoy this interview as much as I know I will. I am Rocco Cross. I am the host at Stutters. I am the host of the Grue Rume Show. And my interview with Cindy will be coming up very soon. This is my Grue Rume, and as always, welcome to my nightmare. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for taking time and coming on the show. This is awesome. Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure, truly, to meet you and see everything that you're doing. It fills me with a lot of pride to be able to do these kind of things, and it's fun too, right? It's something so far removed from my typical world, so it's great. Thank you.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, growing up, uh, I still am like a huge horror fan, and when I say I was watching horror films from when I was a kid, people start looking at me like I'm nuts. And they're like, "Wait, you were a little kid and you were watching horror films?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, I watched my usual cartoons like
Huh?
he, the Turtles, and He Man, but then I would watch Tales from the Crypt and something like The Brood, and they were like, "Oh." As a kid, I'm like, yeah.
People wonder about parents too, the parents that let the kids, they're like, but you got to put it in perspective of what kind of horror it is and and when it's really so unnatural and really far out there, and if you've got a safe place in your children and it's a enjoyable thing, they grow up with it. It's kind of, it's not even a thought, I don't think. Certainly I didn't grow up with watching horror movies until I was a bit older, but I found that they didn't really scare me much because I knew what was going on. Nightmare on Elm Street was the only one that really got to me. I didn't want to ever go to sleep because of Freddy. I loved that one. I had enough nightmares without that. But I have, with so many friends in the industry, and you hear them, watching these films with their kids, but they use it as an educational aspect as well, right? To go,
Right.
real, and this isn't right, and this is really make believe, and you don't have to be afraid of those monsters because it's just fun on TV. So it depends, but I think it makes us a well-rounded person having done so.
Oh my God, yes, definitely.
Documentaries on happy things as well. It's balanced.
I mean, I was just saying, like, I remember when I was a kid, and the first time I watched Freddy and that, and I was like scared. I had to put my light on in the room. I couldn't go to sleep without the light, and
Yeah.
I thought, like, if I go to sleep, some maniac with finger knives was going to be chasing me in my dreams, and
Yeah, absolutely. I always felt that Nightmare on Elm Street just kind of it turned the corner in horror in
oh
my
my
mind's eye at the age that I was at, versus the Friday the 13th and all that kind of stuff. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's a lot of gore and horror, but it wasn't that slasher type. It really
God.
was a mind mess up, which is to me is more scary than anything else, right? I
Oh
think
my
Cronenberger's right onto something with the brain matter. It's all mental. It truly is all mental.
God. But even like when I watched Jason, like I didn't want to go camping for the longest time because I was always worried that I would be in a tent or in a sleeping bag and open my eyes and a guy with a hockey mask would be like breathing over me or something. I'd be like, nah.
Oh. What about, I see a nice little Chucky doll there. I was a
Yeah.
big Chucky fan too, actually. I like the good Chucky and the bad Chucky, so I've got all the different things, but not so much of the new stuff. I
Oh,
like
okay.
classic. I like classic Chucky. That was just so silly fun.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was so great. But yeah, almost like the Gremlins, right? But with the
Yes.
Gremlins with a good kick, just like what Chucky did. Right? Oh, look at me, I'm so cute. Oh wait, that sounds like me.
Yeah, when Chucky first came out, I was obsessed with Chucky, and you know, I was a kid, so my parents didn't want to buy me a Chucky doll. I
Mhm.
mean, they were actually selling them when the movie was out, but
Yeah.
they didn't want me to have a Chucky doll because they were scared of the doll, and then and they were like, no, they if you have the doll sleeping in the bed with you, you're gonna wake up screaming, and it wasn't until I was a grown adult that I bought that Chucky doll.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Freak you out though, right? You walk by and go, oh yeah, right. Hi.
That,
And did your eyes just move?
well, that's why he's still in the box yet. He's tied up in the box, and
Okay. Did you not watch Toy Story? Come on now.
I
One,
know,
two,
right?
three. It's
Yeah, that's a really good point. I like, yeah, yeah, sure, you're right.
great. Yeah.
And so, like, what drew you to want to act? Like, when did your passion start for it?
4 years old, actually, not even before I was four, just around that time frame. I was living in Toronto, little girl.
Hmm.
My brother is a few years older than me. We were out shopping with my mother at a shopping mall, and that was when the Bay was around, the department store, the Bay.
Okay, yeah.
They had a guy dressed up as the Bay Man, and he looked like Batman, sort of. And he was going around as a celebratory thing and giving out goldfish and doing that kind of stuff. Took pictures, and he was the one who approached my mom and said, have you thought about putting your kids in television? We were very fair, very angelic looking, big blue eyes, blonde hair. And we were both little, very petite. Our
Okay.
parents, our parents are petite as well. So my mom was, yeah, no, I've done baby contests and now that's enough. But she took the card. It was for a talent agency called Tranco Talent. And she reached out to them and we went in for an interview. And I think I was filming my first commercial a couple of days later
Oh my God, really?
for Caress fabric softener. That was the very first thing that I ever did was for Caress fabric softener. Um, and it was a fun, I mean, so many fun things I can remember that, I was a little brat and didn't want to exactly say the line that they wanted me to say. They wanted me to say soft like a fluffy kitten or something. And I decided that bunnies were fluffier and softer. So that's what I wanted to say. You can't do that, right? I'm like, you're 4 years old. And I'm like, no, this is what I want. But I used the bathroom. And when I came out, I fell down the stairs in the house.
Oh
Wasn't
no.
hurt. It's a little bit of a woo, wake up. So I got a stuffed animal and I got to say my own line.
Oh my God, are you serious? That's so awesome.
I never used it in the commercial because I'd already said the other stuff and the white line made it in. But I remember, and it's bizarre how you can go, oh my God, that was 50 years ago. And I
Yeah.
remember it like it was yesterday. My memory recall is really quite good. So even when I think about things like The Brood or all my
Yeah.
TV shows and commercials before The Brood and then everything after, there's some stuff that I go, oh, I forgot about that. And then as soon as I get that picture or and then I remember everything again. It all comes back, which is it's fun. It allows me to do these interviews and share some fun stories and stuff. But it took off just from that, and I liked it, and probably did about 10, 15 commercials just in my first year alone.
Oh.
So, and I was doing ad campaigns for print and I was doing radio. And so I did all of
Oh.
that kind of stuff. A few little things with TV, like TV shows, but not much yet. And then when I was 8, so it was about, 3.5, 4 years into the industry, I got the audition for The Brood. And when I got that part, there was just kind of no looking back. The commercials and the print media and all those campaigns stopped, and the focus was more on television. So I did a lot of Canadian TV series back through the 70s and the 80s. And then I did The Brood and Dead Zone and Deadline and Tales of the
Yes.
Haunted and all those kind of things that came rolling afterwards. I think a big thing, it was a help for me that I was so petite and I looked very young, so I could be an older child and have a bit of the maturity to handle some of the difficult situations, but I could be that 5-year-old kid, that 6-year-old kid, but be 9 or 10 years old to handle what was going on. So,
Oh
yeah.
wow. And like being involved with it at such a young age, like, like there's a lot of actors that started out as child actors, and it like they got out of it because they had bad experiences as a child actor. Like growing up as a child actor, like did you ever have a bad experience or was it all like good?
All positive. So I'm so fortunate. You know, I hear these stories and I'm like, wow, especially with all the new stuff that's coming out, you know, nowadays, and you're hearing about Nickelodeon and all. I'm like,
Oh my god, I
oh,
know.
oh
I
my
know.
gosh. It was absolutely helpful that my mother was on set all the time,
Yeah.
but I wasn't always with her. So I do absolutely consider myself so fortunate and blessed that I was really with an incredible group of people with every single production that I did. I don't remember anybody not ensuring that I was taken care of
Yeah.
100%, that whatever I wanted, I had it. And then I was spoiled. But I also attribute I was a good kid. You know, I wasn't a bratty kid. I did what I was told. I followed direction. I could show up on set at 5 o'clock in the morning and work until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh
I've
my
always had that
god.
like long. I can still do it, which is bizarre. I'm sure my mother didn't appreciate it, but high energy, as you can probably see, it's coming through in the interview. Um, so everybody calls me the little Energizer Bunny. I just go, 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 go. You know, something needs to be done, I'll do it. So whatever they threw at me, I wasn't. There was times when I was shy. You know, I went do the
Yeah.
bathtub scene in The Brood. You know,
Hmm.
I was 8 years old and I had to be topless. You know, we kept underwear on. Actually,
Yeah.
at one point I did have to take them off, but they put in a lot of bubbles and they let me take them off in the water and hand them out because you could see it on top of the thing.
Okay.
So there was all those protections, right? There was always a towel around me. There wasn't, you know, art was very, very respectful. And, you know, are you okay if I just wash your back like this? I remember those things then. It
Hmm.
wouldn't happen now, right? They would not allow an 8 or 9 year
Oh
old.
no, yeah, exactly.
And I can understand that. But back then, those were the only things that I was shy about. If they wanted me to do something or act some way, I did it. Thankfully, I was never one of those kids that, oh no, that's embarrassing. I can't do it. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, give it a try and see how it goes. Oh, you didn't like that one? Okay, how do you want to try it this time? I was very, very open to direction and trying new things. And it was great to be, even back in the 70s and 80s, there were directors that were fine with that, even as a kid. You know, okay, you're a kid, so I guess I should probably, how would a kid act like this? You know, it was great. Not one negative experience, not one.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I got out of it. My mother remarried a gentleman from out of Toronto, and I was going into high school. And
Okay.
so I was so busy and so active. I thought, you know what, this might be a good time just to take a break for a bit. Back in the early 80s, there was not a lot happening for kids that were 12 to 17, right? That 5 year span
Oh,
where you're not old enough to be an adult, so you're not valuable because you're not an 18-year-old that can play a 15-year-old, right? I wasn't at
no,
that.
yeah.
And the roles just for that age, they just weren't out there in Canada back then. It just, right? It's a completely different beast than what it is now. It just wasn't. And I
Oh,
say to people, and with all honesty, and Megan follows can probably, I would hope, hopefully she remembers me sort of. Her and I were the main competition for each other for all these roles. So she went Matt and Jenny and Anna Green Gables and
mhm.
did all those phenomenal roles that I was so jealous of. But I was horror. I did all the horror movies and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
and I was the first. They're here. It's not the other way around. I was the first blonde horror with the scream with the everybody says, "Oh my God, you look just like Heather Rourke." No, she looks like Cindy. Cindy that started. David Cronenberg started that angelic blonde-haired little thing. Um, you know, but going into high school, I wanted that high school experience. You know, I love
Yeah.
school. I missed so much of school in elementary. So I just took a step back. And then, you know, as life progresses and things changed, I found myself on my own at 17, living on my own, supporting myself.
Oh, wow.
Full time going through my last year of school, like no regrets, no, everything was fine. Um, but it was just the choices that I made. And then the thought after I was done was like, do I want to? Oh, I don't know. And then I came up to North Bay to go to college and I went into the hospitality industry.
Oh, okay.
Follow through with the hospitality industry, but personality, work ethic, you know, customers, it's kind of all falls in with acting, right? It's all
Oh,
just
yeah, exactly.
a persona that you put on. So I was very good at it. Absolutely adore the industry. Hence why I opened up a couple of restaurants and did all that as part of my life. They're gone now. Um, but it really gave me a great foundation, the acting, for the future,
Hmm.
what I was going to do in sales, you know. So whether it was hospitality, I went into furniture manufacturing and I was their customer service person. And then I went into sales and marketing. So I had to sell the products.
Oh,
You know, something else that just kind of worked. And then I went into real estate. So I went from selling furniture into selling houses and marketing. So again, it's just more of that kind of stuff. And then back around to restaurants again, right? And during all of this, it was about 10 years ago that Chris Alexander dragged me in for the Brood and stuff. But I really didn't look on my career as an actor after 2000 or after 85, I guess. 85
oh,
was really when I was like, yeah, I'm not going back into it. I'm going to finish high school and figure maybe in a decade or so, but it was kind of like, I'm not going to build myself up to disappoint myself. I kind of
yeah,
just, I'm not doing this right now. This is not going to be focus. I'm difficult to get to Toronto. You know, my mom didn't drive at the time. So, you know, you can't just hop on the go and whip down to Toronto all the time, right? Those kind of things. So it was okay. And then I loved my life so much. You know, my children's father, when we met, we had a wonderful 20s life together and we built our career
okay.
at home and we had the kids. And yeah, we separated, but we're still great, you know, and our kids are great. And I met my ex-husband, we had success. No, I'm happily on my own now. Um, Hence probably why I've been a bit more open to this kind of a thing,
Yeah, yeah.
because I had kind of went, yeah, no, I'm done. But I'm done with all of that life now. I'm going, what makes me happy? Where do I, you know, the film festivals? Yes, I'm passionate about that. I want to get more involved. And filmmakers, yes, young filmmakers, I would love to help you. I don't know anything, but can I help you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm a businesswoman. Can you use my business savvy? Can I help you? You know, so that's kind of where I'm seeing my passion is falling back into the industry,
Nice,
not so much
nice.
necessarily acting per se, but
Hmm.
absolutely adore my work with Blood in the Snow Film Festival out of Toronto. It's a Canadian film festival.
Oh, okay.
Been with them quite a few years now, and I sit actually as the vice president on their board of directors.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely incredible horror genre film. We really look at the minority out there, the smaller filmmaker out there,
Oh,
and
yeah, of course.
you know, we really wanted to help the Canadian content get exposure and get out there. So Kelly Michael Stewart, the film festival director, has been outstanding in his growth, and his right hand, Sarah, have done incredible things with this festival. And I feel
Nice.
blessed that they asked me to come on board and use my business sense to help them grow it and get it going. So I've been doing that for about 5 years or so with,
Oh, sweet.
and then recently with the Bay of Blood International Film Festival in North Bay. Found
Oh, so
out
you're
that it was
involved with that too.
yeah, it's a brother of a friend of mine from Shockstock, the annual fun convention down in London that we have every year here. It's crazy. People should check that out. Check out Shockstock. Um, but his brother had a little film festival going here. He's a teacher up at the college, and they do film school here. And he wanted to get a little festival going for them. So I saw his name. I actually stalked him and went, "Hey, I think we know each other. I want to hang out with you." And how blessed was I that they are incredible human beings. I mean, and even Seb Godin and Steve Lauren. I'm just so fortunate in this industry. I'm like, I don't know that there's any, you know, nasty people. Maybe a few filmmakers, but no, I'm kidding. All of you, I'm teasing. Um, but really, a great group of people that has helped me realize my passion again for film and for that industry and for the arts. You know, I've never been completely removed for the last 15 years or so. My daughter's dabbled a bit, and like I say, I've had little, but for about 20 years, nobody even knew I was an actor, that it was even
Oh
in
my God, really?
when I went on to my second relationship, big relationship with
Yeah.
my husband. Um, we were together for a few years before he even knew. I didn't even bring it.
What?
He saw some stuff in a box and he's like, "What is this?" Oh, yeah, I guess I've never really talked to you about that, have I? He's like, "What? What?" And then it was just put back in the box and put away. And then all of a
Oh,
sudden, Chris
okay.
Alexander shows up on my social media and says, "Is this Cindy Hinds?" I'm like, "Oh my God, who, what?" You know, there's interest. There's what? That was 35 years ago. What? I was like, no, yeah, no, Art Hindle and I are going to get together and we're doing some behind the scenes stuff and we'd love to meet with you. And I'm like, Art, I get to see Art again? Yeah, I'm in for that. And literally that's how I got pulled back in. So I did the behind the scenes for the Brood at the 35-year anniversary.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden I was at Shockstock, and then I was invited to attend Horrorama and do these conventions. And I'm like, I'm not brave enough to go all by myself. I need Art. Art, I need you. But it was fun. I mean, I could hang out with that man forever and a day. He's got so many incredible stories to tell about all his film stuff. But it was fun, and meeting the fans and realizing an impact that the Brood has made.
Yes.
I mean, we know that Cronenberg is a brilliant mind, and the impact
God,
of him. But the movie The Brood is just, it was shocking to me. It's still shocking to me. Somebody said, how does it feel when you think about that? And I'm like, it feels like I'm thinking about somebody else's life. Like, it's so far gone, but I don't feel like I'm talking about myself. I feel like I'm talking about somebody else, except that the memories are too vivid. So I know it's me.
Well, yeah.
But
I mean,
weird.
you were a kid though. That's why.
Exactly. And it was like, my God, you did a lot. I'm like, oh my God, I did do a lot. Oh my God, I worked with a lot of awesome people. I start fangirling over myself. I shared DNA with Jack Palance and Christopher Walken and Henry Winkler. Oh my God. And then I look at the great Canadian talent, that I was with, Al Waxman and Henry Beckman and, Harvey. Oh my gosh, there's so many incredible people that are not with us anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I got to work with them. Yeah. Isn't two Cronenberg films? Yeah. I know it doesn't mean anything anymore, but I don't even know what the lingo is. People talk to me and I'm like, what? Can we use the old lingo? I only know the old cut. That's the only thing I can cut.
Yeah,
I think it's the only thing that's right on set and cut. It's the only two things I recognize. but I love that. And then it's funny. I was looking and I see that you're a big wrestling.
Yes.
So I'm doing a plug here. Bad Blood. This is Clayton Windat is the founder of the festival, Bay Blood International Film Festival in North Bay, but he is also known as Rusty the Backwoods Butcher.
Oh, so he's a wrestler.
Bringing wrestling to North Bay in a big ass grand scale, which is really exciting for this community. He's getting a lot of wrestlers involved, and he's working with other companies to try and get some things going in this community. So I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to share that with my.
Oh my God, yes.
He's so fun. And again, I mean, he's an outstanding talent. This man can do everything in arts. It's, between drawing and acting and wrestling and singing and producing films and directing. And like, he's so well-rounded and a beautiful human, blessed. I will learn so much from him, from Seb, from Stevie, from Tara, which is great. But then on the other side, I get to have all this fun with this wrestling stuff now too, which I'm really excited about because I was such a huge wrestling fan from
you were
12 to 20. I mean, I was in with all of those guys. It was a nonstop. And then it was only when I got into an older relationship and then the work and the kids, and then I kind of got out of it.
Yeah.
But when I lived in Angus, just outside of Barrie, where I was from, I say our mayor. I don't live there anymore, but I still consider my mayor. She's a very dear friend, Sandy McDonald, huge with giving back to the community. And every year, twice a year, she brought wrestling events to our community. And so I volunteered a few times with her, and that helped ignite my passion again with wrestling. And I started realizing that there's a lot of people in the genre that love horror that are also huge.
Love wrestling, yes.
Oh, yes. The odd thing is, I'm not a huge horror movie fan per se.
Oh, really?
The community is probably the most beautiful community I've ever been involved with.
It is.
Everybody is so inclusive, is so loving, is so supportive, is so, everybody looks out for each other. And that is who I am. That's what I'm about. I don't want solo recognition. I'm a team player. And I've always said, and even as an employer, if you don't succeed more than me and surpass me, I won't feel like I've done my job. I want everybody to learn and grow, and whew, off you go. So if I can start doing that again in the film industry and have some fun with wrestling and, do just a little bit of real estate, but enjoy things, That's what I'm looking forward to doing now. That's my next step. My next goals in life moving forward is trying to support young people like yourself,
Yeah.
doing these things and having fun, talking about, the good old days, and just getting the word out there that, we need to support each other more and we need to get out there more and do things together and have a good life, right?
Oh my God, yes. So I have to ask you now, like, who were some of the wrestlers that you liked when you were watching it?
Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Gotta love the Hulk. I mean, come on, it was the Hulk,
Oh yeah, of
the
course.
Undertaker, the Rock. I mean, he was baby Rock way back then. He was
I
nobody.
know.
I remember when he first came out. Andre the Giant. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
I loved him. He was such a freak of nature, as they like to call him. I've always been an underdog kind of girl, so I
Of
always said,
course.
"Don't make fun of. Don't do. What are you doing? That's so. Don't you know? He's awesome." I thought he was awesome, really awesome. And of course, well, I'm an A-team girl too, Mr. T, right? He,
All right. Yeah.
it was, Mr. T was awesome. So, all those guys, yeah, that was
Oh wow.
yeah, I used to, oh my gosh, I never missed it. And then one of my closest friends is obsessed with wrestling. She is beautifully obsessed with it, doesn't miss it, and raised her son on it. They went to Toronto for all the things and she pays for and all
Nice.
this stuff, right? So I'm all excited. I've got one of these shirts for her. You don't know yet, but it's coming, Sonny.
Oh my God, I
So,
love it. I love it.
it's
And you're right how horror and wrestling always finds a way to blend in with one another. And
yeah.
Taker, like the Undertaker, was like one of the first like horror gimmicks for wrestling,
Mm.
and yeah, it just blends so well together.
It does. And I think why we find such a beautiful community in all of it is because our imaginations are wicked. We
I
can
know.
really look outside of and we can watch all this stuff and pull the enjoyment from it, appreciate the art of it without going, okay, that's so hokey. That's not, of course it's not real. Of course it's, do you not see the art of that? Do you know how hard that is? Right? And we appreciate all of that. And I think
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
where I always find when a large group of that community comes together, it's always so enjoyable and it always feels so safe. It's such a
Yeah,
safe environment, which is kind of odd that it's wrestling or that it's horror or but it's safe.
I know, right? Exactly. And like you were saying, at these horror conventions, the horror fans are the most loyal fans you'll ever find in your entire life, because they'll have a movie like The Brood that was made in 1979, and they'll come in and they'll talk to you about it like it was just made,
Absolutely.
and they're very loyal.
Very loyal. And it actually, you just gave me a goosebump moment. Um, it was the second horrorama that I did, and there was a young person that came in to meet me, and I'd gone off for a few minutes, and so they were standing talking with Art, and Art saw me. How this person's been waiting, 19, maybe 1920, and they started crying when they met me.
Oh
That
wow.
that really opened my eyes to the impact that that film actually has on some. I'm going, oh yeah, they like it, but I was like, you're I could have birthed you. Oh my gosh. And you're like going, oh my God, it's you. It's little, and they're still seeing me as Candy. They're still seeing
Yeah,
that little girl and that,
yeah.
and then I immediately turn into the mom. Oh, don't cry. It's okay. But it moves me beyond to think that that performance that I did had
Hmm.
such an impact that it made
Yes, exactly.
that people could actually relate to it. Probably why it scares me to not get back into acting because I'm like, I don't know if I could pull that off again or not. Not too sure. As you get older, you become more rigid and more. But
Yeah.
but the impact that I've done a lot of other films, a lot of other stuff, and nothing has come back. Like The Brood keeps coming back,
Yeah.
and I know because of the background of it and the story of it and the fact that there was never going to be or never supposed to be a sequel. And all these
Yeah.
kind of things is what makes it so, you know, the personal traumatic story of David Cronenberg. That's what everybody feels and understands and relates to. But when these young people come out and they specifically say to me, you in that movie, it was just, wow, honored, you know, to think that these filmmakers, or the funniest thing is when people are hanging out with me and they've known me for a long time.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden they get wind of, and they're like, oh yeah, well, what did you do? And I'm like, I know, just some horror movies and stuff. Well, anybody that I might know, I don't know. Are you familiar with any David Cronenberg stuff? Oh my God, I love Cronenberg. Oh, okay. Do you know The Brood? Oh my God, that was my favorite. I'm like, well, I'm Candy. Oh my God. It's so fun. It's really fun to be able to do that. And it's not even an ego thing. It gives me such joy to make somebody get so giddy over it. And I'm like, you've known me for how long? And that's people go, oh my God, we've been friends for 10 years and you never said, you know, just, it is what it is.
It's just something that never came up.
Right? Because I'm not that way. I'm not going to walk into a room and go, so
Have you
I,
seen The Bird?
you know, 50 years ago, I was a somebody.
And you told about wrestling too. Did you ever know that they had a wrestling group called the Brood?
No.
Yeah, it was a group of supposedly van van vampires,
Yeah.
and it was the lead vampire, and he had his two other guys that were training under him,
Yeah.
and they would come out with chalices, drinking blood, and spit the blood into the crowd.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Good. Now they need to get a whole bunch of little white-haired guys, those snowsuits. Actually, I was just talking with my friends at Blood in the Snow, and we were joking about that. I said I'm still looking for the pajamas that I wore at the end there, the two pieces, and I said, but they can't have snaps. Was the one funny story I always share too. There were snap domes on the side,
Mhm.
and I have horrible skin, sensitive skin, and I kept breaking out in rashes. So they had to keep putting tape on those domes all the time. I remember
Oh
this
no!
like that, eh? But I said what I'd really love to find is the snowsuit and come in and get my bangs all down and and then show
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah.
I always wonder, if I ever go for Halloween, I wonder if somebody would know who I was.
I mean,
I look like
if they
Chucky.
were a horror fan, they might.
So, but yeah, no, it's fun.
Yeah, but like The Brood isn't the only horror film you did. You did Dead, Dead, Deadline. You did Tales of the Haunted and Dead, Dead, Dead Zone. Like
Yes,
you did a couple films with dead in it.
yeah.
So
The
like,
Dead
how was
Zone
the
was.
other horror experiences like for Deadline, Dead Zone, and Tales from the Haunt and Tales of the Haunted?
So I did Deadline after The Brood. That was the film immediate. That was my second horror feature film, and the very first filming scenes that I was supposed to do was a flashback or a memory, a dream sequence where my father was supposed to be envisioning me in one of his films. I was to be hung from a 10-foot scaffolding. So this was
Mm.
like, the old style of, you know, the gallows and all that kind of stuff. That is what they had set up and set. They couldn't get the harness to work properly. So I literally sat on set for 2 days, two 12-hour days with doing nothing. But this was difficult. It was a difficult film on a few different occasions.
Wow.
There was a lot of adults that had a very difficult time with what was happening because they were being hung. So even though they were perfectly safe and it was, do the thing and it was a fake, they weren't going to be hung. I saw people become too overly and leaving set, wailing,
Mm.
crying, scared, running off set. And it was like, what the? And then finally, the third day, it became Cindy's turn. So this was the very first thing that I had to do for the film. Mary has a party. Wonderful, wonderful, sweet man. Basically, it's daddy, 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 daddy. Drop. Cindy dies. About the 10th, 11th time, I couldn't do it anymore. It was starting to, because I'm literally, and I adore my father, and I was into it. and
Well, yeah, yeah.
everything became too overwhelming. So I
Oh,
said, I need to go pee. And they're like, well, can you hold it? Nope, nope, gotta go right now. Gotta pee my pants. Got get me out of here. Go. So went in, my mom took me into the bathroom and I just broke down sobbing. And she's what I said, I can't do it anymore, Mom. I can't. It's too hard. It was too emotional. It was too, because I was crying and
mm,
screaming and it was just, I was not even 10, you know, it was hard.
yeah.
So we were in there for a while and I guess somebody came and knocked on the door and my mom said, could you go get Mario? So Mario came in and really, I think an important thing for my mom, she got me to tell him instead of her telling him.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's part of the reason why I'm very big on my kids speaking for them. You tell. I'm not going to talk for you. How do you feel? You tell them.
Well,
So I
yeah,
shared with him. I
exactly.
said it's overwhelming. I can't do anymore. And he said, okay, you know what? We've got more than enough. Thank you. And so I think there was a pride for him too that I was able to share that. Um, so that was the difficult filming scene, but it didn't scare me from doing the rest of the movie because I knew that was probably going to be the hardest.
Well,
What made
yeah,
it really
exactly.
simple was when I had to be hung for real life, because in the movie, in real life, I was hung. Myself, my two brothers acting out one of my father's films. Accidentally, I get hung. So during that film, I was like, oh, this is a cakewalk. We just got to kick this little tricycle out and I'm here on the floor. And didn't like being in the body bag. That was weird. Because
Oh,
back then, being younger, right, when you think a lot about death and you get scared about
well,
death,
yeah, exactly.
those things were, slightly claustrophobic. But yeah, so I spent a lot of time in a body bag in that film, which was a
Oh,
little weird. And then the funnest scene to film, although most parents would probably go, oh my God, my mother was not comfortable. Let me make that clear. But it's how it was back in the day.
yeah.
There's a scene in the film where my father, after having lost everything, is on the brink of whatever, has coke laid out on a table, prostitutes half naked in the house, and he's like freaking out and having hallucinations, and I'm haunting him. So one of
Oh,
I'm literally being passed around the room. So I literally had to have these half naked women that were professionals. And
well,
all of
yeah,
a sudden they're like passing me around and I'm like, oops, sorry, didn't mean to touch your boob. And that kind of, but that all went on. So it's hilarious is all get out to me thinking about it now. Because I actually thought it was really funny. When I got over the discomfort of half naked women around me and realized that this is just, and again, right? Are they going to put a young kid in that? Probably not.
yeah, exactly,
Right? But
exactly.
I'm like, well, whatever. But it's a fun story to share. But so that film was all weird like that, right? There was all these different things. I look at the different photos and okay, yeah, that's good. But that was the only film I would say was difficult emotionally on me.
Yeah.
Everything else was good. I mean, The Brood, my throat got really sore, screaming so much, and it was
Oh,
hard.
yeah, I'm sure.
But I wasn't. I was still going home and making little broodlings on my arms, going, "Oh, that looks so real," you know. Um, and then after I did Deadline, so that kind of made me an old pro in the horror film stuff.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um, then I got Tales of the Haunted, and Tales of the
Yes.
Haunted with Jack Palance. I mean, what a coup! That was a 5-part series that ran after the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big and it was a pilot for the big thing and stuff. And I didn't appreciate who Jack Palance was at the time at all. He was not a nice man. He's not open. He's not friendly. He wasn't. I barely ever saw him except when we were on set. There's one scene and there's actually a photo where he grabs my head like this and he's like talking. He grabbed it a little too hard. It kind of was
Mm.
shocking to me. Not that it hurt me, but it was like, oh, he's intense. And he is intense. He's a very intense actor. And that's why you get brilliant performances from him, right? And why you could get a brilliant performance out of me going, what I'm terrified. Holy shit, you're gonna rip my head off. You know, um, but learned a lot, had a lot of fun on that. Derek, I got to work with Derek and Little's Hobos as well as my brother. And he was on Matt and Jenny with Megan Follows. He was Matt of Matt and Jenny. So he had uber amounts of experience. So he was a wonderful younger actor that I could feel safe with as well. So we spent a lot of time together on the set. Because all the other actors, Michael Starr, he was big, so he was off doing his thing. Jack Palance, he
Yeah.
was off doing his thing, or the other filming. And Derek and I were in a lot of it, so I had to be around quite a bit. But we just make our own fun and leave the adults alone, and they didn't really want anything to do with us kids, so that was fine. Um, but there was less, Jack Palance falling into a bog and drowning, and I could think back and go, yeah, I can remember thinking, going, is he going to be okay? He's not really going to. I think happy about how would I feel if that was my father going, it's like
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I'm going, how should I be? This is a hard one. This is, now I could go, oh yeah, I can watch you go down, no problem. Thinking about it as a character actor, right? But back as a kid, those emotions are hard to pull out when you've got a good relationship with your dad, or
That's
you really like your mom, and you can't.
yeah, that's true.
So I used to think about my pets dying, or things like that to try and get the sad emotion. But when the call came for Dead Zone, that was so exciting because that was David calling me back directly to say, hey,
Hmm.
I got a new movie and I got this part that'll be perfect for you. Can you come in and see me and talk to me about it? Absolutely. We're there. And I walk in the room and he's like, Cindy. I'm like, David. He's like, you went and got big on me. Uh-oh, what does that mean? It means I was too big for the role that he
Oh
wanted.
no.
So the role that he wanted me for was the girl in the fire, the nurse's daughter at the very beginning when Christopher Walken,
Yeah, yeah,
that's the
yeah.
nurse. And it's the girl in the fire. That's what David wanted me for. But
Oh,
so David was like, okay, well, I'm not going to have called Cindy in to give her, this shows how lovely David Cronenberg is. Even back then, he called me in and he offered me a role and he couldn't. So what did he do? He gave me the young girl, the student, sitting at the table as Christopher Walken's teacher, stuttering. And he's helping me with that issue. Because I was too big, I got to work with Christopher Walken.
oh my God.
Right? I mean, like, and that's why I go, I never would have met him. I never would have seen him. I never would have even come anywhere near Christopher Walken if I had been the girl in the fire.
Wow, like
But because of that,
yeah,
I
like
got
you
and
get this new role in the movie, and you get to work with a legend. Well, I mean, he wasn't a legend yet. He's a legend now.
right,
A
cool.
young Christopher Walken.
Yeah, yeah. And that was just after Natalie Wood had died. So he'd just come off of that trauma with
Hmm.
Robert Wagner, right? He was involved in that whole thing. And that was recently because I remember my mom, I used to say, why does he always look so sad? He was very quiet. He didn't come around. Like you could tell there was something more than just the artsy quirkiness. There was something
Yeah,
else.
yeah,
And
exactly.
mom said, well, Natalie Wood, because my mom was a big West Side Story girl. I grew up with West Side Story. So Natalie Wood, know her very well. And so I was like, yeah. And he was on the boat. He was the other. Oh, okay. And I was old
Mm.
enough to understand, right? I was 12. So I understood what was going on there. Um, but it allowed me to meet Martin Sheen and
Yes, that's
Gerber,
right. He
Mark
was in the movie
Adams.
too. Yeah.
Nick Campbell was in The Brood and in Dead Zone. So I worked with him because he's a wonderful Canadian icon as well. Yeah, so it was really an interesting change of events because I got to go to Niagara on the Lake for filming.
Oh
All
my
these
God.
different things where I would have ended up in just a little studio by myself doing the
I
scene.
know.
I actually got to do all that fun, incredible stuff. It was great. But that was the last thing that I ever did was Dead Zone. That
Oh,
was my
great. Really?
bow out piece. Yes. I figured that's a
Hey,
good note to go out on. The last thing I did was, and I worked with him. Yeah.
I
I'll go out on
know.
that, right? It's like my Oscar moment.
Yeah, no, really. Like you got to be on set with Christopher Walken and Martin Sheen. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom quite liked that too. And working with James MacArthur when I did Littlest Hobo. He's Dano from Hawaii Five-O.
Yeah,
James.
yeah, yeah.
So he was the guest on the Littlest Hobo episode that I did. So my mother was just like, oh yeah. It was so funny. So funny. I'm like, what? What? Now I see it. Now I get it. Okay, yeah.
And and by being in all these classic horror films, what do you love most about your time, your experience in the horror world as an actress?
I would have to say it's all this stuff that's come out later in life. And
Okay.
I can truly appreciate it. And I've done the busyness part of my life too, that I can actually kind of slow down or be involved or do other things. Um, the acting and it was so much fun, and I met so many great people. I did spend a lot of time away from school, but I still, I had a good life that way. Everything was great, but nothing that was, I would say, so exceptional that it jumps out to me, except for saying that when Chris Alexander found me 10 years ago, I'd say 10 years ago, from finding out the impact of the Brood and then
Hmm.
realizing that people are still interested in this stuff. And yeah, it's fun to have new things to talk about and to share the old stories and the funny little quirks of the things that I know about certain actors on our set of what they did. You know, I've got fun little tidbits about all these different actors that you're like, oh, I'm going to share that someday. You know, nothing awful or embarrassing. I would never even do that to somebody. That's something else that
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not about. But you know, the fun, silly things that you go, you did that, you know. Um, yeah, you know, I'd have to say that's what it is the now part. The last decade of being able to do these fun interviews with people such as yourself and
Thank
doing the
you.
Comic Cons and being able to volunteer with film festivals. And, you know, I was volunteering at the doors, like, you know, even before I got back into Blood in the Snow, I was already volunteering with Barry and their film
Mhm.
festivals and taking tickets at the front door. And this is the funny thing: none of those people know anything. So I was volunteering with the Barry Film Festival. They don't even know who I am. They didn't even. I was volunteering with the Barry Theater Group. They didn't know who I am. I'm just Cindy, a successful realtor and restaurateur from Angus. That's who I was. To me, that means a lot too, you know, when I can do fun stuff like that and be involved and people don't know, because it is, again, it gives me one of those fun moments when they hear, I saw a weird post on your feed. What the heck was that? Oh, did I not tell you?
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. That is so awesome.
Yeah, it is fun, you know, because again, I don't need that recognition. So I'm here to
Yeah.
do it for that, not for the other. If I need to use my name or so be it. If somebody
Well,
else
yeah, exactly.
use it to do, so be it. For the most part, I want people to know Cindy first and then kind of go, oh my God, that's so cool. Right? Because when I go, yeah, right, they get why I go, yeah, right. I'm not being arrogant. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. I look at pictures and it's like, what the? A couple of years ago, finding James McCarthy, I found my scripts. I didn't even realize I had a couple of my scripts because I hadn't opened up these boxes in so long. And pulling it out, and I'm like, "What's this? Oh, Lewis Hobo script. Look at that. What is that? Oh my God, it's signed by James McCarthy. Holy shit! I've had that sitting in a box for 40 years. I didn't even
Yeah.
know.
Oh my God, I love it.
You know, I should go through some of this stuff. I think, and
Yeah, like show it off at like the different horror conventions.
yeah, you know, if it helps bring people in, let's go.
Right, right, exactly.
That's that's it.
And the last thing I will ask you is like where could fans follow you, keep up on your work and your horror stuff and your conventions and
Best way is I've decided that I'm okay with social media. So if there's some fans that you know enjoy my work and they like it, if they want to shoot me a message on Facebook, I'll tend to you know go okay because I don't really post a whole lot of stuff I wouldn't want people seeing, and I do know it's a valuable thing, but I've not really set myself up per se as the film industry. I'm not huge on social media anyways. I only do it when something happens and then I'm off again. There is a wonderful man named Kevin Kane, who is also an author from the States. He has a haunted doll collection and writes about haunted dolls and stories.
ooh.
He started a fan page for me a number of years ago, and he reached out to me and said, you know, I've done this fan page for you. And I was like, yeah, for me? Me? Why? I'm a huge fan. Me? So you know I've thought about you know we keep in touch still and talk and every so often he'll put up stuff, but that's another thing that if things get going it'll be it, but certainly
Mhm.
look me up on Facebook. You'll find me in my big face, and see I do a lot of public posts so that people can tell that it is in fact me if they want to reach out, if they're not, you know, everybody isn't sure. Yeah, I still
Yeah,
have
yeah,
blonde hair and the
exactly.
big smile, but it may not be the same Cindy. So you know, but yeah, that's about right now. Maybe in the future I'll get a website and do some other stuff, but keeping it low key right now. You know, it
Oh,
means the world to me when people like yourself just reach out and shoot me that really kind, respectful message. It means the world. It does, you know, and thank you. It really it means a lot to me. It does.
oh yeah, of course. It means a lot just to be talking to you about these films that I grew up with. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, definitely have a great day and have an amazing weekend.
Thank you. You as well. I appreciate your time today. And I hope we can do this again and just keep in touch. And I'll have to get down your way and see you. And we'll get to some wrestling things.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I live in Philly. Philly's a big wrestling town.
And yes, do you get up to Toronto much?
I've never been to Canada. I really want to. I know, I know. I've never been to
Have your
Canada.
passport? Let's go.
I do have a passport. Yeah,
Well, then we're going to have to get you up here and do some stuff and let's talk.
I want to do one of the horror conventions in Canada.
Well, Shock Stock's the one. It's damn good. Fun time for 3 days. It's nothing but fun. Great films, great panels, great merchants, just everything. It's if you want a really incredible experience, but you don't necessarily want to get lost in the massiveness of something
Yeah.
like and there are those the fan expos, and they're just
Yes.
massive and so big. And so what I love about Shock Stock is it's big, but it's not so big. You know,
Okay.
you don't get lost when you attend Shock Stock. You are attending because it's a family reunion. Everybody
Okay. Okay.
every year to come back, and you walk in and you're like, oh my god, I haven't seen her since last year. Oh my god, it's been 5 years. Has it been that long? That it really is a beauty. You don't get that in other
I know
conventions.
you're right. You're right about that. Yeah.
So many incredible film festivals, which are great to see, but I like the convention aspect of it too, where you can go and hang out for a few days and see. Now, one thing with Blood in the Snow, we've got this wonderful, week-long thing going on with Deadly Exposure, because we introduce a lot of filmmakers and film
Hmm.
producers and production company and all that kind of stuff as well, which is a reason that I really became so passionate, because it's not just a film festival. We're actually out there helping these young filmmakers try to grow and get out there. So it's we got a lot of good stuff up here. Got a lot of good stuff.
I'm definitely gonna stay in touch because I
Awesome.
have
I
to
hope
get
so.
I have to get over there.
Yeah, for sure. That would be wonderful. So thank you very, very much. It was a pleasure meeting you. You're a wonderful,
Same.
wonderful young man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really great meeting you too. You're awesome. Thank you.
And we'll talk again soon, I hope.
Definitely will. Yes.
Take care.
Bye.